is Liv and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. So today I am bringing you guys my wrap up for the month of March. I honestly have to say March has really been the most consistent reading month for me in terms of finishing series and sticking with the same authors, which if you guys know me, that is a complete struggle. I am the worst when it comes to finishing series. I do have 8 books that I completed throughout the month of March, and in total that does come out to only 4 different authors, which I am ecstatic about. It's a great reading month. I got a lot done. Some of my new faves are in here, so without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so I do kind of want to go author by author on this one because there are only 4 different authors in this list. So I am going to start with Cassandra Clare because she wrote the very first book that I finished this month, which I finished on March 1st. So it just missed the cutoff of making it into my February wrap up, but I feel like it's been forever since I finished it. But it is City of Heavenly Fire, and oh my goodness. City of Heavenly Fire is the last book in the Mortal Instruments series following the original series of Shadowhunters in New York, and this was a complete 5-star read for me. I could not get enough of it. This was easily my favorite book from the Mortal Instruments series, my second favorite Cassandra Clare book in general, right below Clockwork Princess, which that one's gonna be really hard to top, but maybe she can do it in the future, I don't know. I think this was a very satisfying conclusion to this epic 6-book series that has been building up for years now, that I started reading 10 years ago. But it's done. I finished it. I really do love her writing now. The way it's evolved is just absolutely incredible. These characters are on a complete other level, and I feel like I now know them as like my own friends. We did get to meet a couple new characters in here also, specifically Julian Blackthorne and Emma Carstairs, who are the 2 main characters in the Dark Artifices trilogy, which is next up on my list, and I could not be more excited to finally get to read them. I wasn't actually aware that they were going to pop up in this book, so that was a complete surprise for me. So honestly, I'm like 10 times more excited for the Dark Artifices, and I need it now. And after finishing City of Heavenly Fire, I did move on to the Shadowhunters Codex, which is written by Cassandra Clare as well as Joshua Lewis. And this is kind of it's a field guide into the world of Shadowhunters. Say you are a mundane looking to ascend into the world of Shadowhunting, this is the book that you would read beforehand, if that makes sense. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was really clever how it was written like instructional and let you know what you're doing in the world of Shadowhunting. However, there are different footnotes in it written by Clary, Jace, and Simon, which I thought were so funny. There's definitely some humor bits thrown throughout here. There's some of Clary's artwork throughout the whole thing, because Clary just took it, she doodled through it, and here we have it. I learned a lot about the lore of the Shadowhunters, so if that's something that you're interested in, this is definitely the book for you if you haven't picked it up yet. But it was really interesting to get to. I'm really glad I read it. It's not something that I would deem as like overly necessary to understand the series, but if you're into the whole like lore and wanting to know exactly how the Shadowhunters work, how the Downworld and the demons, how all that comes together, then this is definitely the book for you. And following that, we have the Bane Chronicles, which is another book that I was so excited to get to. It is a novella compilation of different stories following the life of Warlock Magnus Bane, who is one of the most beloved characters in all of Cassandra Clare's books. Honestly, I wish I could just sit down with Magnus Bane and have a cup of tea, talk about his life and the things that we get to see him do in here. I know there is a joke kind of in the books that he's like, oh, do you want to know why I'm banned from Peru? Like, that's a funny story, and we get to see the story. So that was something that was really satisfying, I think, especially after reading the series, getting to know and love Magnus Bane as much as I do. I honestly do think he may be one of the best fictional characters that I have ever read ever. He is so full of personality, he's so funny, but he's so sweet and caring, and I honestly just love everything about him. And his sense of style, ooh, on point. I absolutely love it. So I did give this novella bind up a 4 out of 5 stars, and I'm really excited to see where we see Magnus next. Okay, so moving on to the second author of the month, who is Rick Riordan, as you guys know, one of my absolute favorite authors of all time. But I did read The Ship of the Dead, which is the final book in the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard series. This was another 4-star read for me. This series follows Annabeth Chase's cousin Magnus and his adventures with the Norse gods. I did think the beginning to this one was a little bit slow for my taste, and I do think as a conclusion it wasn't as epic as I was expecting, but I do think everything that I loved that makes it a Magnus Chase book in the case of the characters, the dialogue, Magnus as a narrator, that was all there, and so that was really satisfying for me. I think the ending overall, like the very last scene, I think Rick wrote it incredibly well as to where the characters leave off at the end of the series, and I'm very hopeful that we will get to see them again soon. It's kind of hinted. I am still theorizing that someday we're going to see a series where all of Rick's characters that we know and love come together to fight one ultimate demon. It's like the Infinity War of Rick Riordan, and you can't tell me that does not sound absolutely incredible, because that is going to be like maybe my most anticipated book release of my entire life. This is something I have honestly wanted for years and years now, and just the little possibility that it could be coming is enough to tide me over for now. But if you haven't read the Magnus Chase series yet, I really encourage you to do so. It is kind of like how the Bane Chronicles don't really connect to the other books. This one is separate because it does deal with another set of gods. However, because Magnus and Annabeth are related, we do get to see cameos from the characters that we know and love. Specifically in this book, we do see Magnus and Percy meet. However, I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get to see like their very first meeting. When the book starts, they have known each other for a couple of weeks now. So I do think that was missing just a little bit, but overall a satisfying conclusion to a very beloved book series. So the next author I want to talk about today is an author who's still kind of new to me, and I've only really ever read a couple of her books before, but I did finish up a series that has been very close to my heart for some time now, and it is the Disney Descendants series. And I started off with book 3, which is Rise of the Isle of the Lost, and this series really encompasses the descendants of the Disney characters and villains, specifically the villains Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, Jafar, and the evil queen from Snow White. The book series themselves does take place between the Disney Channel movies, so it's really interesting to see how the world builds and expands in addition to what we see on screen, and what the characters get up to between movies. This one happens right before Descendants 2, so it does introduce the main villains of that one, the daughter of Ursula, the son of Captain Hook, and the son of Gaston. And getting to see kind of more backstory to these characters and why they act the way they do is something that I really enjoyed. So this was a 3 out of 5 stars for me. And the last book, Escape from the Isle of the Lost, happens between Descendants 2 and Descendants 3, and I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. Personally, I think this was my favorite book in the Descendants series, and just the entire time I was reading this one, I had a smile on my face. I have really grown to love these characters. I love the movies. I think they're so fun, and the music and the choreography is absolutely phenomenal. So I love it, honestly. I do think this was a very satisfying conclusion. Obviously, there can't be that epic final battle because that all lies in the 3rd movie, which does take place after this book. But it was really great to see all their interactions. Some of the characters we did say goodbye to in here because they're not present in the 3rd movie, and it really does explain why. But this was a very solid series. It's a middle grade series, so I mean, the writing can be kind of like fun and whimsical, and it's very simple, but it's very fast paced and easy to follow. If you are a Disney fan and you haven't given the Descendants series a try yet, I promise it's a lot of fun, and you might just find yourself enjoying it. So the last author I want to talk about today is Leigh Bardugo, and I did finish 2 of her books this month, and the first one I want to talk about today is Siege and Storm, which is the 2nd book in the Krisha trilogy. I do think overall this book was kind of suffering from a mild case of middle book syndrome, where it really doesn't have like the introductory action exposition that the first book does, and it doesn't have that final epic concluding action that the last one does. However, I think this did do a really great job of linking books 1 and 3 in a way that really kept the action going. We got to meet a few new characters in this one who honestly grew to be some of my favorites. Like in particular, can we just talk about Nikolai for a second? He is the main character in King of Scars, and now I'm so excited to read that series and finally get to see one that's all about him. I really want to know more about his life. I do think out of all the characters in the Grishaverse, Nikolai was probably my favorite. I love his humor. I love the way he just walks into a room and completely commands it. So I thought it was absolutely amazing. I thought he was an incredible addition to the team in this series. And then this leads into the last book I've read this month, which is Ruin and Rising, which is the concluding book to the Grisha trilogy. I also gave this a 4 out of 5 stars, but I thought this was probably, I think, my favorite book in the series. It does have all of that action, that ending, concluding stuff that you want in the conclusion to a trilogy as epic as this one. However, it didn't go in the direction that I expected it to go at all. There were definitely a few plot twists thrown in here that I definitely wasn't expecting. I don't know if anyone else was, but I'm also the worst when it comes to seeing plot twists, so I mean, there's that too. Though now that I have finished the Grisha trilogy, the Six of Crows duology is next, and I could not be more excited to finally meet this band of characters, and I'm so excited now that I have finished the original series to see the Netflix show that's coming out later this year. Can we just get the trailer already? Please. I'm so excited to read the Six of Crows duology. I know they don't really connect, but they are taking place in the same universe, so I'm excited to see the references that are thrown that way, see what kind of happens in this, and then see the way that they will cross paths in the series. So overall, this series wasn't my favorite, but I do think it was really well written, especially for it being earlier in Leigh Bardugo's writing career. I mean, I've read Ninth House. I absolutely love the Ninth House, so the way that her writing has evolved over time is something that I'm really enjoying seeing as I'm finally reading through them, and I can't wait to see what she comes up with next. Alright, so there you have it, guys. That was my March wrap-up. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you did enjoy it. Please be sure to leave me a comment down below telling me what your favorite book you read this month was, or if you have read any of these books, what did you think of them? I would love to discuss them with you in the comment section below. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, you can do so by hitting that button down below, and you can also click that bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video, because I do upload every Monday and every Thursday on this channel, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. The Magical Readathon is this month, and I am weekly vlogging, so look out for those coming soon. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!